Here's I'm actually harvesting my clean water before I make my smoothie. And then actually the other thing that I do here in the morning, I take this Coriolis versicolor. It's a special mushroom extract from Japan. I like to take an empty stomach 2 to 3 times a day. This is if, remember, no medical advice. I'm not making any medical claims. I'm not making any claims for or against any product or products. This is just something that if you're worried about maybe getting cancer or you think you have it, there's some interesting data. And obviously, Paul Stamets does a lot of great work with mushrooms. This is just kind of, in my opinion, the next level stuff. I'm going to take it real quick. And I already loaded up on my hydrogen water, which I didn't have the camera on for that because that's part of my protocol. But it's hard to film your whole life, so I just started the camera right now. It's morning. Obviously, the first thing I do is you always want to clean your mouth first, and then you load up on really clean hydrogen water. Obviously, this water right here is super clean. I'm surprised how many people are still confused about how to clean water, but watch video 388 if you have questions about that. And so I'm putting this through a process of distillation and carbon or reverse osmosis and then distillation. I'm going to get a few little minerals to add to this too. Hold on. Having the right amount of minerals in your body is really important. Now the truth is though, I'm not going to put much in here. The truth is what you really want to do is actually get it from your food, if possible. Okay, let's see here. Sauerkraut says, I saw on the Purium website that they have a product for anti-parasite cleanse. Do you know about it or have any opinion? You know, I actually haven't seen, so thanks for sharing that. And it depends on what it is, but starting the carbon distiller there. What I can tell you is, I mean, I already know a lot about parasites. I'm open to listening. I'm always open to learning, but I'm pretty sure that whatever it is not the kind of stuff that I've been doing for a long time. Plus, I live an anti-parasitic lifestyle. Almost all the food I eat is very anti-parasitic in general, but I'm open to check it out. Reliable Andrew says, hiya, have you ever incorporated oil pulling in the mouth as part of a healthy modality? Yes, I have. And I used to do it quite regularly. I still do it once in a while. I'm not against it. So yeah, to answer your question simply, yes. Okay, let's start with nutrients. Let me grab those. That's the wrong one. All right. Let's get this going this morning. Get the day started off right. Well, I already started it off right. But yeah, oil pulling, in my opinion, is good. It's really important. I've always been a little bit of a fanatic when it comes to oral care. I was actually gonna be a dentist. However, being a dentist, you know, it doesn't really have a lot to do with, you know, with oral care as much as one might think. A1 says, when you do these types of streams, we can't like the video. I don't know if you know this or really care about likes, but I thought I'd tell you. There is actually a way to like the video. Maybe somebody can share with A1 how to do it. It's a little trick. I guess like up the top right corner, there's like these little dots that you push and whatnot. So, okay, the first thing I'm gonna start with in the super smoothie is nutrients. It's all about nutrients, guys. If I just put fruits and vegetables in it, it's not gonna be enough. So I'm using this powder, but it's all food. It's just a bunch of superfoods, and it's kind of designed to replace a meal. The way that I use it is to enhance my meal by getting basically more nutrients. I use it as my multivitamin, and it's been working really good, and that's Power Shake. If you guys want to know where I get it, it's a website called ishoppurium.com. And of course, some people are like, how do you spell Purium? P-U-R-I-U-M as in Mary. But really good stuff. It's super clean. That's why I like it. And what's interesting is they just sent me a lab report recently because they found some contaminants, so they didn't put that particular ingredient. That's why I like them. They stay on top of things, and that's really great. And I saw their lab reports. That's why I'm so interested in their product, and I use it. And by the way, if you do want a discount code, the code Uprising144K works. Let's see here. Sauerkraut says ingredients: black walnut, Marshmallow root, clove, wormwood, amalaki. Yes. You know what? Sauerkraut, those are all good anti-parasitic ingredients. So, I mean, I do agree with that. But I have a different anti-parasitic regimen, but I wouldn't be against that one. I think it sounds great. A1 says, I want to support your channel to get more info out there. I found the like bottom LMAO, never knew it was there in this format. Thanks. All right, great. This one is a product, you don't have to put this one in the smoothie, but this is from rncstore.com. I love their lab tested stuff, really clean also. Apricot seeds, which yes, appear to be not only anti-cancerous, potentially even anti-parasitic, and obviously have good omegas and things of that nature. So, you know, I'm up for using it, and I have it, so I'm just using it up. Sauerkraut says, that's the ingredients in the cleanse. It's called Super Cleaner. Would it be good for someone who is just starting with Parasite Cleanse? Now, see, I mean, yes, but in my opinion, what I would do that's so much easier and cheaper is food grade diatomaceous earth. I mean, food grade diatomaceous earth is, there's clear evidence. And when I say clear evidence, I'm talking about, you know, lab reports and actual testing that I've read. And that's a cheap way. If you want to take that product, I think it's good too. You know, there's nothing wrong with that one. I still think that an anti-parasitic lifestyle is very powerful too. So all of the above, basically. So yes, I think it'd be fine. I mean, I can show you one of the things. Like, I'm not going to say anything, but I'll show it to you. But you really want to be very careful on how to use it. You have to know how to use them. This is what I'm using right now. And that's the word right there. You guys can pause it, rewind, whatever. And it starts with an F, you know, as in favorite, but you can read about it. You're gonna find, you know, there's not a ton of anti-parasitics that you'd want to take. By the way, this is cacao, and we know the benefits of cacao are really good for the brain, but good for some of the latest data is about how good it is for stem cells. And so, yeah, I think the anti-parasitic cleanse, it's something that I think people don't think about enough. By the way, 100% matcha green tea from Japan. And boy, the health benefits of this off the charts. If you can find some, do not buy any, in my opinion, from China, because I've seen the lab reports, and the Japanese stuff always was rated #1. I saw the reports, and the Japanese had either the least amount of chemicals or no chemicals, grown properly, but the health benefits of green matcha, oh my gosh, guys, also appears to be anti-parasitic, anti-cancerous, but anti-aging, all sorts of really good stuff. And guess what? It makes it taste really good too. So that's really great. Okay, moving on. Let's grab the next one. All right, let's see here. What are we going to use today? Well, I hate to use the almonds again, but almonds are good for you, and a lot of nuts are actually potentially anti-parasitic also. So I'm going to use some of these today because I got to use them up. And they're super good for you and have really good omegas, fats, proteins, fiber. Okay, let's see. A1 says, do you have a list of the products you use? I'd like to get some of the things you show, and the health food stores around don't have all the products you show. You know what? It's a good point. I really need to make, it's kind of been very busy for me, and I'm planning on moving. So that's been a lot going on. But what I should do is make a video of all the products and then just have links for all of them. I think that would be probably a really good idea, actually. So I'll try to do that before I leave, because once I leave, I don't think I'll have, there's a lot of products I'm not going to have access to. But then I'm going to look for different products when I'm in Japan. So it's just, you know, what I always tell people is you have to kind of adapt and find what's in your area that, you know, is affordable. And then there's some things that are just staple, foundational things you need. Okay. But I really appreciate the support. Very kind. Okay. And of course, running low on some vegetables again. Okay, the next one, super greens. Why super greens? Well, not only do they have really good fiber, really good nutrients, really good minerals, but obviously the new epigenetic studies on super greens is literally mind-blowing. They literally blew the mind of the people doing the study. Nobody expected the results that ended up coming out about how is affecting, quote unquote, your telomeres, basically how long you can potentially live. And the super greens up here should be extremely good for longevity. What a surprise, right? It's always funny when people are like, I mean, back in the day, it used to always be, eat your vegetables, right? These days, the world's so crazy that everybody thinks that there's, you know, actually I can't even make certain comments because it'll go against probably certain rules. I'll just say that, yeah, sometimes the world seems a little crazy right now, and we don't even have free speech, which is too bad, you know. As a young kid, when I was a kid, I never really thought about free speech. I used to just think, well, I can say whatever I want. It's not a big deal. But you don't realize that it's not so much that they care about what you say. You can say whatever you want as long as nobody's listening. That's what their big thing is. A1 says, that would be awesome if you could do the list, bro. Thank you. Yeah, I'll try to do that. I had a video like that, but it was a long time ago, and they might have even taken that one down just because I was showing certain dewormers that I would personally use. And of course, I mean, you can read and do the research and figure out how to use them and read all the dosing, I mean, the whole bit. But it is a lot of work to figure it all out. Okay, super greenies. Is that enough for today? Yeah, that's good. All right, normally I put a lot more, but this new blender, which is awesome, the vacuum blender, it's awesome. The only issue is that it's smaller than my old blender, so I have to adjust for that. Okay, be right back. All right, what's next? Oh no! Boy, I just realized that I definitely have to go grocery shopping. Keep watching those. I gotta say, produce is like art. It really is beautiful. Okay, isn't it? I mean, nature in general is beautiful. All right, and oftentimes anti-parasitic. I'll tell you, you can Google almost any of these ingredients that I'm putting in, and put something like, are carrots anti-parasitic, and you'll be absolutely shocked. And that's why I like to live an anti-parasitic lifestyle, because we're always dealing with parasites. We're always fighting something off. We're always fighting off cancer cells. Our body's always in this battle, so you have to give it what it needs. But by the way, A1 though, I just wanted to say I really appreciate your kindness and trying to help, you know, support the channel, the thumbs up, and it's small things, but it really does make a difference. And you know what, for me, it's just the thought that counts. I mean, that's obviously why I'm doing this for you guys. It's just, you know, just trying to help people, show them what it is that I've figured out and what I've done. You know, because a lot of people don't know what to do, or don't have the time to do the kind of research, you know, and create simple protocols. Like I was seeing a thing today, there's this guy who spends like $2 million a year on his health. I think a lot of people know him by now, but his name's like Brian Johnson. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that he's coming up with, I almost wonder sometimes if he's watching my channel, because I've been talking about oral health, and then all of a sudden months later, he's talking about it, you know. I'll be talking about certain foods, and all of a sudden he's talking about it. Now he started talking about water purification. I've been talking about that obviously for a long time, but he's definitely going about the wrong way. And people are complaining how expensive his method is, and I was thinking, yeah, you can do better for less than half the price. So that's what I realized, you know, part of my goal here is to also show you guys how to achieve the greatest health with the least amount of money. I mean, really, I know that some of these things do cost money, but obviously you're gonna have to buy some stuff. That's the kind of world we live in. But to differentiate between products that actually are good for you, or that are good products, versus wasting your money on crappy products, because I know I already spent a lot of money throughout the years trying everything, and I was able to simplify it. And of course, I wish I would have known a long time ago, because it would have been a lot cheaper to just buy the things that I really needed. And that would have just been a lot easier. But hey, that's, you know, that's the world we live in, and it took time, and now I just share it with you guys. So, okay, what's next? Let's do blueberries. Why berries? Well, I'm sure you guys all know there's so many health benefits to berries, but blueberries are the ones that, I don't want to say they're like the king of the berries, but They're accessible. I think that they taste really good, and I like really dark berries. I like the stuff with rich colors, like the beets I'm gonna use. The beets are pretty awesome. But let's go with ginger. Ginger's gotta be between ginger and green matcha. Sauerkraut says, I found the tube. Thank you. Uh-oh. Make sure you know how to use it. Don't not use that wrong. I gotta tell you that. Because it's not good for your liver if you use it wrong. You gotta know how to use it. You know, all that good stuff. But what I'll say, it's actually, you can find it on a website called chewy.com. Chewy.com tends to have the best price on that stuff. And it gives you a lot. I've bought that stuff in many different forms and it would get very expensive. And but that was the cheapest way that I've discovered. And look, I would gladly share the information with you guys, but you know the world we live in, we can't talk about antiparasitics. And sometimes I wonder, this is me talking like a conspiracy theorist. I wonder if we're under some type of quote unquote alien invasion that we don't realize. And the invasion is happening inside our bodies with these parasites. And the only reason I say something wacky like that is because, and I know it sounds wacky, and I'm a very rational guy, and I'm very logical and always want to just use, things that make sense. But the weird thing is when you research and understand parasites, like I said, the Japanese have done extensive research on this. Guys, they are nuts. I mean, the things that we have found that they do boggles the mind. Like it's almost hard to believe, and I honestly probably wouldn't believe it if it wasn't for the fact that it's some really good scientific data, tons of evidence. We know for a fact that they're doing these crazy things. And that's when it just really boggles my mind. And what really boggles my mind is when you look at like ancient scripture. I've talked about it before, these particular books where they were supposedly from the hidden archives of the Vatican, but there's stories about Jesus that you've never heard. And he even touches on parasites. It's pretty wild. So they must have known about him obviously a very, very long time ago. And when you get them out of you, and I've gone through the process obviously, and I don't mean just like a normal cleansing, because I've done like, dewormers, and does it make a difference on how you feel? Yeah, nothing crazy, but a little bit. I guess it depends probably how many worms you have. But I did this one particular cleanse, and oh my gosh, it felt like the movie The Matrix. It felt like this thing unplugged from my brain. And all of a sudden, I felt at peace, and I felt silence, and I didn't realize all the noise that had been going on in my head. That was a very pivotal point in my journey too. That's because I was always such a skeptic. I'm like, whatever, I don't need to deworm. I don't need to detox. I don't need to filter my water. I used to be one of these guys, if you can believe it. And then I go through that, and then I realized, okay, yeah, something's going on here. Something's not quite right. And so I really started believing basically that the human body truly is what the ancient scriptures say, which is it is a temple. And in this temple, things try to invade it. And these parasites do invade, and they do manipulate you, and they do influence you. And you may not think so, but it's a scientific fact. They can do all sorts of things to manipulate your behavior. And you can look even they're doing a lot of extensive research with parasites and even cancer in Japan, which is very, very fascinating, by the way. And a lot of it also has to do with a lot of smells. So the scent, and I'm sure you guys have heard of like certain animals, like dogs that can smell disease, things of that nature, even maybe smelling parasitic infections. When you're doing all these tests, and all it is a simple smell. It's a gas that's coming off of you. And I just realized through my experience that it is important. And that's, I do all this for my health, but I also do it to have the clear mind and actually to have a greater spiritual connection also. And I don't go into that usually a lot. I'm just showing you guys, how I got healthy, but there is more involved than just that. Okay. So health and, in my personal opinion, spirituality go hand in hand. Let's put some water in this. I'm going to use the cleanest water today. Normally I would add some minerals too, but I already added them at the bottom there. Okay, here's more minerals too, chia seeds. And then Sauerkraut says, was that specific cleanse the one you do with fen and Ive and the diatomaceous earth, or was it a different type of cleanse? It was a different type of cleanse. Those particular cleanses that you're talking about there, Sauerkraut, in my opinion, are good if you know how to do it, because you have to learn about parasites. And what's really odd is that I haven't found almost anybody in America that really understands it. I think there's very few people out there who understand their cycle. They have a cycle, and they have like a 3-month cycle, which is why I created a 3-month one. But this other cleanse that I was talking about is different. The one that I did, well, I've done multiple different ones, but the one that really impacted me, and I had a very odd experience that was very, you could call it spiritual in general. Someone says, what's the best cleanse to do? Well, I mean, they're all good as far as like you can do an anti-parasitic diet, you can do diatomaceous earth, you can do the things that Sauerkraut mentioned, which I'm not going to mention because, well, as you guys know, we don't have free speech, so, but you can read about those things. But the really big one that I did is one, unfortunately, that is just not cheap. And it's not only not cheap, you have to travel somewhere. It's done in a very specific way, and you're not going to be able to figure it out on your own. Clearly, even when I did it, the practitioner who did the cleanse on me, I remember asking her, because it was so profound. I mean, it was kind of a funny story, because here, I'll share a little bit with you if you guys want. Basically, when I was there, and I went because somebody told me that I should go and do this, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. Someone that is very close to me that I know very well. And she kept telling me, no, you really need to do this. It's going to transform your life. And I kept saying, no, this is ridiculous. And she was, you know, and she wasn't being pushy, but she just kept telling me, like, look, I really think this is going to be a benefit to you. So finally I was like, fine, okay, how much is this cleanse? And I think it was something in the neighborhood of like $4,000 or something. Not to mention that you have to fly to Hawaii. So the flights, the hotels, the food. I mean, the whole thing is going to cost you, I don't know, at least $10,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? So immediately, because I've never really been like a rich guy, so I was immediately like, I can't afford to do that. You know, I'm not going to go and spend, you know, $10,000 on some silly cleanse, because that's what I thought. I thought it was silly. Like I said, we're talking about a guy. I hope you guys understand that I'm a very, you know, it's not that I want to be skeptical, is that I question things. And so when people say, you know, like, oh, you know, I saw, I don't know, a UFO, it's like, well, okay, these days they have them on camera and whatnot, but I guess I'm just saying that I question things. Let's put it that way. It's not that I don't believe things, I just question things a lot. And so I went ahead and, you know, I didn't want to do that cleanse. I thought it was way too expensive. And I just didn't think it would make that difference in my life. And she pushed and pushed and pushed to the point where, she, you know, it's a long story. I won't get into the details. All I'll say is that I was like, okay, fine. It seems very important to you, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I went ahead and went to go do it. Absolutely shocking, because when I went there, yeah, it's very expensive. And by the way, it's not fun. So not only are you paying, it's also just not fun. The dietary restrictions, the fasting, some of the stuff that you have to go through is a little brutal, some of it. And it makes sense, though. I know what they're doing now. When I first did it, I didn't understand it. I just went in on, as you might call, faith. I'm like, okay, I'll just, you know, believe whatever you want. I'll just do whatever you want me to do. But what was interesting about the process is the woman who was doing the cleanse, you know, and here's me being really skeptical, and I sit down with her. She's like, I want to talk to you. I'm like, okay. And we talk about a few things, but she said something that I thought was really peculiar, and I'm going to share it with you guys. She said, look, I want you to take a notebook and a pen, and during this process, I want you to write, you know, a lot of your experiences down. And I remember thinking, like, write down my experiences. Like, I am not a person, just so you guys know, I don't like to have a diary. I don't like to write things down and keep track of old thoughts. Let's see, Sauerkraut says, do you think you could replicate what they did? Yes, in fact, I'm actually going to get to that, Sauerkraut, but if you want me to jump straight to it, the experience was so profound that I literally was like asking the woman, how did you learn to do this? Because there's no way that she created this protocol. There's just no way. In fact, I don't know any human who would have come up with it. And that's when she obviously admitted, openly. She was a really cool person. She basically said, yeah, I didn't create this. I was taught it. And I said, well, who in the world taught you? Like, I wanted to get to the bottom of it. That's my personality. Like, I'm like, I need to find the answers. And when something is real, I need to know. And that's why I share stuff with you guys. I share with you, things that are, without having to do all the homework that I've done, what really works, what doesn't work, that's the kind of stuff that I look for, because I know that there is truth out there, right? And so she told me, let's see here, it says, no, keep going with the story. And then A1 says, I support you because you are the most honest health speaker I've seen, because you don't push a product besides the hydrogen machine because it's the best. It's not because you're paid. Well, they are trying to set something up so that I can maybe get an affiliate thing. But all the affiliate things that I do, I'm just using that money to basically towards my health, to buy these, these different products that I do like and need. And, and also if I can get the channel to be completely supported, I was trying to get YouTube, I was trying to get enough followers on YouTube. So that way I wouldn't have to charge anybody for anything. I want to give everything away for free. I want to give away all the answers for free. I don't want to always jump on the next supplement bandwagon, Yeah, anyway, moving on. And then GC118 says, thanks for sharing, Greg. Loving the story too. Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep sharing what happened. So the lady says, yeah, write everything down. And again, I'm thinking like, oh man, I don't want to keep track of it. I want to go through the experience. If I feel like I have to write it, I'm not able to enjoy the experience. It's like going through a roller coaster and trying to write down what you're experiencing rather than just enjoying the moment. And I just wanted to enjoy the moment. So when she told me that, I was kind of like, I wasn't really sure if I really wanted to keep track of everything or whatever, right? But I was like, okay. And I also thought it was a little weird that she was asking for that, because I'm thinking, I'm not going to have a profound experience. I mean, come on, we're just going through all this, cleansing stuff. There might be potentially a little bit more inexpensive way to do it. I'll share that with you guys in a moment, but I don't think it's the same. I don't know what it was about what it is that she did, and it didn't just impact me. It happens apparently to almost, and I'll say almost because I won't say every person, but almost every person that goes there. That's why she's asking to write it down, because it's normal. That's what happens to people. So I'm like, okay. So I take my pen and pad and we start going through, this process. Let me put a little more water in here. Hold on. Let's see here. Gotta get it to the limit without overdoing it, because we're gonna vacuum today. I'm not gonna do a crazy vacuum today. I'm just gonna run it a little bit. And so, let's see here. Where was I? So the cleanse begins, and the very first day, part of the cleanse involves colon cleansing. It's a very specific way of doing colon cleansing, and I've never seen anybody do it quite like she did. And then, by the way, I did end up buying all the equipment, learning how to do this whole process. It was quite expensive to learn the whole thing, because I ended up having to go back again, and it's a process. Okay, let's turn on the vacuum system real quick, and then I'll finish the story here. It's kind of wild. Okay, let's see. Go. Vacuum it. Put this on here. And I'm going to stop it. Open up some air pockets. There we go. You can see the water level drop when I open up the air pockets. Okay, keep going. And we're vacuuming out the oxygen so that we don't oxidize the food as much when we're blending it, which you may think makes no difference, but it actually really does, and I'm kind of surprised about it. Let's see, A1 says, that blender is awesome. I've never seen one that that's good until this channel. And this is from void-system.com. And the discount code also uprising 144K. Okay, we reached the pressure, the desired pressure. And let's go ahead and chop this up a little bit. Japanese blades just tearing through this, which is pretty remarkable. Even my Vitamix would get stuck sometimes. This thing. All right, now we're almost ready. All the ingredients I want today because I'm moving. I didn't want to be buying more hemp hearts because I know I wouldn't finish them. So unfortunately, I don't have my hemp hearts, and I really like them is the thing. And you know what? Maybe I will buy them anyway. I need to go grocery shopping today. And actually, I have a work thing soon too. Vitamin D. I know some people are kind of poo-pooing vitamin D lately. I think it's crazy. What's cool about this blender too, check it out. If I have this thing off of it, it won't turn on. Isn't that crazy? It's got a little safety switch. My Vitamix doesn't do that. I think we're done. Okay. Probably still got a few chunks in there, but it's not so bad. Then to release the pressure, you know, the valve. And then in order to get this thing off, that's the tricky part. I put the little tissue under the valve. I don't need to use this towel here, but I do. Mostly just to save my fingers from getting cut. It doesn't cut me like every time. In fact, it almost never does, but it kind of just chafes my finger a little bit. So I put the towel here in the corner like that. And then I pull up on the corner like this. And there we go, guys. Let's see how it tastes, and then I'll finish up the story. Let's see, do I always eat raw food or do I eat cooked food? I do eat cooked food, not a lot. I do a lot of raw food. Everything needs to be either steamed, boiled, fermented, raw. Once in a while, I have cheat days. You know, like I used to not, but these days I have cheat days once in a while. Just small stuff. I always protect myself by eating, like by drinking my hydrogen water before the meals. By the way, I don't know if you understand how protective hydrogen water is. It's extremely protective. I could give you examples of certain studies if you really want, but it's impressive. So I use hydrogen as protecting me, but also, by the way, you might be surprised to find out that things like vegetables are also protective. Maybe not as much as hydrogen or anything, but you know, eating vegetables before certain things actually makes a huge difference. I'll tell you, food is magical if we just stop messing with it. You know, genetically modifying stuff and spraying chemicals all over it. And, you know, and sometimes some people say like, oh, let's see, Sauerkraut says, how do you wash that lid if it's electric? So what you do is you make sure that it's off, and then you can rinse it because there's pumps here, but as long as it's not pumping, it's not sucking any water in, and it is waterproof or water resistant. So you can just rinse it and wash it as long as it's off. When it's on, that would cause a problem. That's why I shut it off when I'm blending, because I don't want the smoothie particles to go up into the pump. All right, now I can either finish answering some of your questions, or finish telling you guys a story if you really want. And I'll probably be talking more about this stuff on my new channel, because this is more on the spiritual side of things. And on this channel, I just try to share with people really good things that they can do for their health, because I do not like to see people suffer. And I think giving good tips for health is a benefit to people, and all the work and money that I've spent to figure out what's good, what's not good, and just sharing the knowledge basically. Okay, let's go ahead and take you over here, and then I will quote unquote answer some of your questions or tell you the story. I don't know. Oh, yummy! That tastes good today. Came out good today. I just wish that I wish I had my hemp hearts. I do miss my hemp hearts sprinkled on top of them. It really kind of sucks that I don't have them. Okay, let's see here if I can answer some of your questions. JA said, just finished my smoothie with Void Blender. Recently got hydrogen machine, waiting to get the water distiller. Oh, there you go. He's doing it all. Good for you. Keep it up and you will definitely get paid in good health and dividends, in my opinion. A1 says, do you use vitamin powders or pills? And I see you trace minerals. What brand? I use a Dr. Berg's product, D3K2 MCT oil. Yeah, it's very similar to that actually, but it's not in it. I like mine in my ionic form. Works good, but always looking for better. Okay, let me go grab this stuff and I'll show you what I'm using. Yeah, some of Dr. Berg's stuff is good. I use the one from Concentrace, and I just like it. D3 with K2, it's just like what you're saying, except this one comes in ionic form. Ionic, basically they use minerals because they believe everything works synergistically, and I do too. That's the way the human body works. Here's some of the minerals that I use also from Concentrace. I have videos, if you type in like how to distill or how to mineralize distilled water, you'll find the links to those products. If you want to support the channel, I think it only gives me like 10 cents or something still. It's really small, but anything helps. It's really more the support. It's helpful when the company sees that it's coming through my channel. So if, sometimes they'll send me products like this to review. Okay. Let's see. Sauerkraut says that's crazy. GC118 says, who taught her protocol in Hawaii? Oh yeah, I was gonna finish that story with you guys. Oh, you know what? I do have my last ingredient that I really need to have. Definitely gotta have hydrogen. And you know what? Give me a second. I'm gonna do something real quick. Sorry guys. Maybe 5 seconds. All right, so basically the person that I tracked down who had taught her actually also was taught by somebody else. So this has been passed down, this technique, for a very long time. I mean, the closest I was able to track it down to, which is really, really weird, was to Native American, which is really odd because, and I'll tell you why the story gets really weird. I don't know if I should tell you, I don't know which part to tell you, if I should keep going with the story or if I should tell you what I found out. So I don't know which one you guys prefer here. Let's see here. A1 says, spiritual health is as important as physical, mind, body, and soul. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, very important. In my opinion, yeah, I agree. Very much agree. The body is part of this journey. Sauerkraut says, do you ever vacuum the unused smoothie and save it for later? Yes, I have a vacuum system for that. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I can show it if you want. I've done other videos where I show it. A1 says, Concentrace is great products. I've been researching them too. Yes, Breeze of Peace says, hi Greg. I got a question regarding the water bags. Sorry guys, it's easier for me to read at this angle. That it's supposed to hold the hydrogen for up to a week. I see them being sold at the Holy Hydrogen website. What's your experience with them? Oh yeah, I definitely use them. I usually use them for like when I go hiking or if I have to go to work for quite a while or something like that. It'll only hold the hydrogen for about 1 day. It'll only hold it for a week if you put the pouch sideways in a refrigerator. So if it's non-refrigerator, it only lasts about 1 day. Sauerkraut says the whole thing. Use Imperium also. Love this product, says JA. I know, isn't it amazing? It tastes so different than other products I've tried. And then GC118 says both. So anyway, so this is ultimately what happened, right? So she's like, hey, write everything down. That's what she, or not write everything down. She said, just write down your experiences or whatever. And again, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to have any experiences, lady. I'm just going to go through this cleanse, whatever, you know. I wasn't expecting anything supernatural. And so, with that being said, I go to the first day, very first day, first day in, and I immediately, you get on this table. And actually, I had to start a diet before this, but what I meant by the first day is the first day of actually doing this cleanse. And they run water through you. It's a type of colon cleansing, right? It's called an open system. There's different types of system, open, closed. You don't want to do closed according to what they told me. Got to be open system. The water is going to have to be really clean because when you go through your colon, I mean, you're bypassing the liver. So the water, it better be clean. Then they have a thing where it's like kind of catching everything that's coming out of you so you can actually see it. And you can feel it too. And I felt a little restless. And this is where it got weird. In my mind, I started thinking, what am I doing here? I can't believe I'm doing this. This is so silly. And then I felt almost uncomfortable. And I was like, you know what? I kind of almost want to just get out of here. But it was so expensive that I'm like, I probably would have just jumped off their table and just left. But I had flown so far, all the money spent, getting, you know, a house, the whole process was really involved. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try to get through this. And then at some point, I felt something come out of me, and you feel it immediately. It came out and it was like, kind of like, have you ever felt really sick and then you throw up and then you immediately feel better? It's kind of like that. And I was like, whoa, what was that? Okay. And then I kept going through the process. And once I was done, I walked into a kitchen. You know, she had this beautiful kitchen with a view of the ocean. It was very beautiful. It was in Hawaii, by the way. And in my opinion, there's a lot of scammers in Hawaii too, as far as healers and, you know, cleanses and all this type of stuff, you know. So I go and sit down in her kitchen and I'm looking at the view, and I still remember the feeling. I was just sitting there and I could feel silence in my head, and I feel a certain level of peace. Now, I want you guys to remember this, and this is interesting. And this is not, I'm not trying to get religious here on you guys, but remember something that Jesus, or a guy named Jesus, his name was actually Yeshua. But this guy going around, and he didn't really go around telling everybody, hey, God be with you, God be with you, which is a little odd, but what he really said, and he said it all the time, he would always say, peace be with you. And why would he be saying peace instead of God? I won't go into too much detail about that, but what I'll tell you is, I felt such a level of peace. And I was like, and I liked it. I'm like, this is really nice. Feels pleasant, feels comforting, feels nice. And I was like, okay, this is odd. I didn't want to start thinking and pontificating about it. I just wanted to experience it and feel it. So I go home or to the house that I'm renting or whatever, and I'm going through the diet. I can't eat any of the stuff that, you know, I normally eat, yada, 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 right? So then I go the next day, and I'm going through this whole process. The whole process was supposed to be 10 days. For me, it lasted 11 days. As the process moved on, by day 3, I started writing stuff down because I started having, like, I don't know, I'm going to tell you right now that this is not totally normal, and I'll tell you why it wasn't totally normal, because I started having like visions, and I started having like visions with emotions. And so I'm trying to write things down and whatnot, and I'm going through this whole process. People joining later are going to be like, what are they talking about? And so I'm writing it all down. I'm not going to go into crazy detail. I'll just say that by the end of the cleanse, some crazy things happened. But here's where it got interesting. I then talked to the lady who did the cleanse, and I said, hey, I wrote a bunch of stuff down. There's a lot to cover. And you know what I'm gonna do, if you guys don't mind? I'm gonna do a little stretching while I'm talking to you guys here. Um, so I said I want to share with you what exactly happened, because and I wouldn't have ordinarily shared it with her. I'm very big on like just keeping my mouth shut. I don't need to be telling everybody everything. I had my experience, it's mine, it's my own. I'm not needing to go around talking about it. But she asked for it. She said, I want you to write everything down. And when I had these experiences, I really thought, you know what? She clearly wants to know. So, okay. So I tell her I'm going to tell her, and she's like, no, no, no. I want you to get all your notes ready. And I'm like, okay. And I want you to bring them at this time to my office. I'm like, okay, why can't we just talk about it now? She goes, no, come to my office this time, bring your notes, blah, blah, blah. And then I want to listen to everything you have to say. And I'm like, okay. So I do that. And when I get there, there's a guy there. And I'm like, okay, who is this guy? And she said, this is my husband. And I'm like, okay, why is he here? Now, he wants to hear what's going on? I was curious. As I am, I'm a curious guy. And she said, he doesn't actually believe in the cleanses that she does. And he himself tried to go through it, never could get through it. Just like I told you, at the beginning, it was really hard for me. I wanted to give up so many times, guys, you have no idea. And he always gave up. He would never get through it. I don't think he ever got past day 2 or 3. So it's really kind of odd. But I'm like, okay, so why is he there? Why is he here? And she said, I want him to hear your experience and what you're about to say. Because she knows that people end up having an impactful experience from this. So I'm like thinking, okay, here we go, because it's weird. All right, so we sit down, and I'm not kidding you, I must have talked for about at least an hour, probably an hour and a half. And I went over a lot of the things that had happened. By the time I was done, this is where it got kind of weird. I could see, and I really thought I was boring her. I really didn't want to rant like this for an hour. And I tell her these details, and the look on her face, I'm starting to wonder, am I boring her? And I'm like, look, I don't really need to be here. I don't need to be sharing my most kind of certain intimate experiences with this whole process. She's very sweet. She's like, no, no, please keep going. So at the end of it, she just looked weirded out to me. So I asked her, I said, I know that everybody seems to have these experiences when they go through this. Is what I'm telling you normal? Is this what everybody says? And she said, no. She said, a lot of people have experiences going through this process. Never have I heard what you're describing. And that's when I realized, okay, clearly everybody has different experiences throughout this process, but apparently mine wasn't totally normal, even though everybody has their own thing. And I just think that everybody's a little different. So everybody has a different, even with spiritual experiences, everybody has their own thing. Now, this is where it even got more strange. I mean, there's actually a lot of detail I'm not sharing with you guys because it would be a very long story. Years later, I mean, this was so impactful, I kept thinking, this is amazing. How does the world not know? Blah, 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 blah. Then I find this book. And this book, I thought, was a bunch of garbage. That's literally what I thought. I thought it was just nonsense. Because, in religion or whatever, or in spirituality, you're always told that it's just the Bible. It's the only book to believe. That's if you're Christian, of course. And then, of course, Buddhists have the Tao books. Or they have, what's the number? It's called the Tao Te Ching. Amazing book, by the way, beautiful. So I think this is a bunch of nonsense. It's claimed to have been translated by this guy who, his father used to work for the Vatican. They had access to secret archives of the Vatican, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. This is where my perspective changed. There's stories in here about Jesus that you've never heard. You've never heard them in the Bible, whatever. It doesn't sound at all like the Jesus that we've all heard of before. Well, in here, he starts describing the cleanse. And I'm like, wait a second, what? he starts describing the cleanse that I went through. And then he starts talking about parasites and worms and how these things affect the body. And I mean, this is thousands of years old. I mean, it was very, very odd. I just thought it was very odd. And I'm like, you know what? I need to learn how to do this cleanse. That's why I went back there. I went back there, I think, for a total of like 3 times. And I needed to learn, and I bought all the equipment. I've done the cleanses on my own. I've done them for a few people. So it's really involved. It's really hard work. And the people who I did them for also had a profound spiritual experience. Jazz says, the God Jesus speaks about is not the same one from the Old Testament. I don't know what that means. And I'm not saying anything negative. I'm not saying anything for or against the Bible. I'm not even saying anything for or against Jesus, whatever. I just found it odd that the cleanse is in here. I just thought it was odd. And then it gets even weirder because there's something at the very end of this book that I know 99.999% of people will not understand. I really don't think that anybody would understand it. There's no way that I could have understood it had I not gone through a specific experience, which I didn't go into right here, because otherwise it makes no sense. And so that's when I kind of realized the importance of, cleaning the body, getting these parasites out, how it is a spiritual part, and finding things in the past, thousands of years old, literally talking about or describing the things that I'm going through today. Or someone says, what's the book? It's called The Essene Gospel of Peace. And again, remember what I told you about what Jesus would always go around saying, peace be with you? It's in the title, guys, Essene Gospel of Peace. And if you read about the Essenes, you'll read that a lot of the practices of Jesus actually originated from the Essenes, like baptism. Jesus didn't invent baptism. That was something that the Essenes were doing long before he ever arrived. But the story of how Jesus was discovered and how it is connected to the Essenes, there's a lot of, anyway, I don't want to get into the history of it because, not to say that it's not important, for me what's important is the process. We have a human body. It is a spiritual thing. It is, and it does relate to health. And if you're, you can go about it just for health or you can go about it deeper. It really is up to you. Okay, let's see here. Jazz Banana says, basically Jesus was opposed to Yahweh and the Father. Oh, Essene Gospel of Peace, yep. And then Greg, do you have any more books similar to this one that you would recommend? Well, this one's kind of my favorite, but I'll show you a few here. Let me see. Okay. I mean, after that, I thought, well, geez, what else is there? So it wasn't as good, but you can read about it a little bit if you want to. And they have the Essene Jesus. So this is kind of interesting. Communion with the Infinite. These are all translations from the same guy. I'll tell you one thing that's very clear to me. Great that this guy translated it, that he translated this stuff. I don't think he understood everything he was translating. I do think he understood some of it, and he did put some of it into practice in his own life. J. Ayer Jaw says, Jesus wasn't a scene. Here's some more. The Essene Gospel of Peace, Part 2, I think. Yeah, this is Part 2. Beautiful, like poetic, deeply spiritual. This is book 3. And all these books come from, they were basically old scriptures, like from the Dead Sea Scrolls. So they have a lot of scrolls and the original writing, what it looked like back then. They even had from Enoch to the Dead Sea Scrolls. On it goes. Anyway, there's a lot of books, but by far my favorite one, which he felt was the most important, was this one. And this is how important it was to him. He had to wait until he was dying to release his translations. He knew it was dangerous. He knew the Vatican didn't want it out. And as much as I thought the book was nonsense, There was too many things in it that were important. And then look at this at the very corner. He said, when I die and you release all this, he released it to a woman that he knew. He said, never sell them for more than $1. He said, everything's $1, and all the money goes towards funding, making more of the books and selling them for $1. This was not supposed to be about profit. This was about releasing the truth, certain information. And basically what the book really talks a lot about, some of it's, again, very, very odd. And I say odd because certain things that I discovered on my own by accident, and they ended up being in that book. It's almost like my life is in here somehow. It is very strange. Imagine how I feel, especially as a skeptical guy. I'm like, how is this possible? How is this possible? And yet I can't deny it. But so it's really about the human body, about nature, about your connection to nature and quote unquote God. You know, it's a very spiritual thing, but with also, it's not just like, oh, you know, you take no responsibility. Who cares what you eat? Who cares how you treat the planet? Who cares about any of this? As long as, you know, you believe our religion, you're all good or whatever. It's not like that at all. Jazz Banana says, fantastic, noted. Sauerkraut says, that's Marcionism, that God isn't the same as the Old Testament, old school hearsay. To be really honest with you guys, you know, I don't want to go too much detail into this channel about this because this channel is really supposed to be about health. And if you really want to talk more about this, I would suggest joining the new channel, which I'll be releasing soon. Because the real journey to Japan has to do with, I'm taking my body to another level as far as certain things that I'm going to do. The Essenes, who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls, were really, they call it baptism, but there's a lot of, they call it ritualistic bathing, but I don't know if it's ritualistic, but that's part of the reason. I haven't really talked about it a lot, but that's really the reason I'm going to Japan. I'm going for the water. I'm literally following the water. I don't think people understand the spiritual component of water and life and the spiritual path. That's the reason, even in the Bible, it says, and God's voice is like the sound of many waters. Everybody knows the water into wine stuff. But if we follow scientific data, the scientific data, and the Japanese have a lot of research on this. That's why, I don't know if you guys understand that. Does anybody know that the Japanese are obsessed with hot springs? Anybody know that? We're talking about from deep within the earth, water, untouched, no chlorine, no chemicals, and you can bathe in this water and how that affects the human body. It's really quite remarkable. Jazz Banana says, H3 radioactive isotope of hydrogen tritium. Yeah, and again, you know, I'm obviously, my favorite form of hydrogen is really molecular hydrogen, which is H2, which is what partially water is made of. It's H2O. And that's the water that really that's the one that seems to have the greatest benefit according to the data, and it really is looking like that. This is Gnostic stuff, be careful, says Sauerkraut. Yeah, I mean, again, you say be careful, but I should be careful about treating my body right. I should be careful about cleansing my body. I should be careful about being at peace and feeling calm, feeling more happy. I don't know exactly, I don't understand the caution, to be honest, because I don't understand the danger of taking care of myself. And I also don't understand, I don't know, it doesn't make a ton of sense, but I know that everybody has their own beliefs, which is why I don't talk about it on this channel. Everybody can believe what they want to believe. I wouldn't normally want to believe all this stuff, except that I experienced it, and then reading it many years after the fact, I thought, this is so weird. So, okay, let's see if you guys have any questions. I probably should have never brought it up, but all right. K-Pick says, I'm ready to get a new machine. I've had a King machine, oh boy, for 10 years. We're ready for a better machine. Would love to pick your brain sometime if possible. Well, I mean, you can email me if you want, uprising144k@gmail.com. But, I mean, you already know probably what the best machine is. Sauerkraut says he's going to tell you to get a Hydrofix. There's nothing to pick. Well, that's not totally true, Sauerkraut. There is, okay, of all the machines out there, there's 3 good machines, okay? They're all Japanese, every single one of them. The problem is, well, let's see, GC118 says, looking forward to the new channel. I agree with health and spirituality go hand in hand. Yeah, I mean, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying to, I don't know, worship a golden calf or anything of the sort. But I believe that the human body is special. Anyway, and you can only understand that once you've gone through certain processes. But all right, so there's 3 machines. The problem is, so there used to be, I don't know if you guys want to know the whole story, but basically there used to be 2 top, if you just want the simple answer is the best machine, obviously the one I use, is called the Lourdes Hydrofix Premium. It's from a website called holyhydrogen.com. The other machines, one of them only makes the water. And it makes it good, but it's second best. It's not the best, it's second best. They inject the hydrogen gas. But they've had reliability problems. That's the reason that they're not #1 in Japan. It used to be 2 companies that were #1 in Japan. They were both really big. That one went down because they actually got China to make some of their parts, even though it was kind of designed in Japan. But it ended up not being super good, and you couldn't inhale the gas. So that's why it ended up not being the best. And then they had another good machine that only made the gas, but it was so expensive. It was something like $11,000. And the Hydrofix outperformed both of them in the quality of water and even the quality of the hydrogen gas. And it was way cheaper. So yes, that's why I recommend it. It's by far the best. Okay, let me grab more of my smoothie and I'll read the rest of your comments. And then I really should get going here soon. Got so much stuff to do before I move. All right, trying to travel light though. Okay, let's see here. Jazz Banana says, Greg, do you know anything about foods to heal epithelial tissue, leaky gut, inflammation? Oh my gosh. Well, for leaky gut, well, in my opinion, obviously really clean water, because when you drink water that's contaminated, and it's clearly going to get to your GI system absorbs so much water. Hydrogen, in my opinion, is the thing that really helps with the inflammation, the leaky gut, the healing, the feeding of the good bacteria, all this stuff. And you know, none of this is medical advice, and I'm not making any medical claims. And as far as food, I mean, you're going to want to read about this and you'll find it, and that's fruits and vegetables. There is a YouTube channel. I just like the science that this doctor shows on a channel called, you go to YouTube and type in nutritionfacts.org and then type in leaky gut. And he'll actually show you studies. And that's what I really appreciate about that particular doctor. And it's all free. So that's what I would do. Lisa says, it's really important to share your spiritual experiences regarding cleansing the body. Well, thank you. I mean, I'll share some of that on the other channel. Like I said, this channel, I don't want people to be alienated. Really, I don't want people to alienate themselves due to their own beliefs. People's beliefs get them in trouble all the time. And I mean, I think you guys probably know that more people have probably died in the quote unquote, the name of God, you know, people who are really religious, or, you know, all these, you know, the Crusades and all this crazy stuff. In fact, there's some wild stories about different type of Christian denominations and the Catholics trying to go to Japan. It's part of the new show, if you guys seen that new Shogun show. And the whole thing's an absolute mess. And that's why I don't get into it. I don't get into it. I don't want to argue with people about it. If people want to believe what they want to believe, please go believe what you want to believe. You know, I've gone off of experiences and a lot of reading, and that's all I can say, you know, and I live my life the way that I live it, and, you know, all good. Everybody does what they want to do. It's called free will, free choice. Focus says, respect and blessings to my brother. Always nice to see there is good people in the world. Well, you know, thank you for that. And that's, I feel the same way. I want good people in the world. And obviously if you put, you know, you have to put effort. There's a scriptural verse that says, faith without works is dead. You got to put in some effort, you know. So thank you for the kind comment though. GC118 says, Greg, are you familiar with Dr. Dietrich King Hard, he seems to understand parasites well. Yeah, I have actually heard about him. I go off the data from Japan. They have the latest data. And I wasn't just picking Japan because it's Japan. I mean, they really do have the latest data on parasites. I've learned so much by looking at their stuff. It's unbelievable. Thank you. Who is this doctor? Just type in nutritionfacts.org. His name is Dr. Greger, but it doesn't really matter who he is. It's the data. Looking at the actual scientific studies, showing you all the different numbers. It's really great. I like the way that he breaks things down. I don't agree with everything he says, but I like the data. Ja says, I can't wait to use my new hydrogen machine. Yeah, you know, I think there's a really spiritual component also to hydrogen, by the way, but he says, but want to do it right, so waiting for my water distiller to arrive. I mean, you can purify water in other ways until you get it. Thank you for all the information and research you do. Well, thank you for the kind comments, and and you're very welcome. And I would just say you can definitely use, I mean, sometimes you go to the store and they have you can buy water that's gone through like reverse osmosis, ultraviolet light, carbon filter, and all this stuff. And I mean, you could use that meanwhile. You don't have to wait for the distiller. The distiller is just next level cleaning of your water. I mean, that's about as clean as you're gonna get. And obviously I'm big on eliminating bacteria and parasites, molds, all sorts of stuff from the water, which your average system won't do. I'm still surprised that people like Brian Johnson, who spend $2 million a year on his health, haven't figured that out. And he's trying to talk about some water filter I saw today. And he shows the lab results, but what he doesn't realize is that with those type of filters, the more water that you're running through them, the quality of your water is going down. He's probably testing it when the filters are new, which is very different than distillation. Anyway, he's totally missing the point, but he gets a lot of things right, though he had to spend $2 million to figure it out. I've been showing you guys for free, and it's almost, he says a lot of the same stuff I say, actually, we're eerily similar, but he's not on hydrogen. And I've been I tried to reach him a few times, and I think he blocked me. And so I was like, you know what, forget it. I was trying to be helpful. You're trying to do all this research. I don't know why he's against hydrogen. That makes me feel a little weird, because I know hydrogen's amazing and he doesn't want to put it to the test, which is weird. Like, yeah, put it to the test. Let's show what it does. I know it's going to be amazing. So I don't know if there's other ulterior motives or what's going on with all that, but of course I would say, as I always tell you guys, do the right type of hydrogen, because otherwise it could probably show even worse results in the blood. And so, yeah, I didn't, without going to, I don't know if you guys really, I probably don't have the time to do it actually. I didn't share all the details about what happened, quote unquote, during that cleansing process. But I can tell you that it was very, very spiritual. And it's such a wonderful feeling that I had been looking for a very long time. And I learned that we do need to feed the body. Clearly, we need to feed the body, and I think I have a pretty good idea of how to do that now. But we also need to learn how to feed the soul, the spirit within us. And I say that because I think a lot of people these days, especially the youth, they feel like empty inside, or they don't know what direction to go, and they have, they're missing something. And then of course, I don't know if sometimes it seems like there is something evil going on in the world right now, which is really odd. I don't want to go into too much detail on that either, but I don't know what in the world's going on, but something doesn't seem quite right lately. And to me, it's been very clear for quite some time, but I see now that people are starting to wake up to it. And it's been something that I've been going through literally since I was a little kid. I don't talk about that much. Maybe I will on the new channel. On the new channel, it's probably going to be a little bit like, it's going to be different. So anyway, this channel, as you guys know, just teaching people how to clean their water, heal the body, introduce hydrogen, how to get your nutrients, maybe how to deworm, just basic things so that people don't get all weird within, because they always say don't talk about religion and politics. These days, you might even have to throw diet in there. Everybody seems to go nuts when you talk about diet. And I just feel like it's so simple, to be quite honest, even though everybody can't seem to agree on it. I will tell you one thing. I don't believe in any diet where you eat only one thing. So like, no, you should only eat vegetables. No, I don't think so. No, you should only eat meat. No, I don't think so. No, you should only eat fruit. I'm a fruitarian. No, I don't think so. Or even people, this was so ridiculous, it's when people were like, oh, I'm a breatharian. I'm just going to eat air. This is getting dumber and dumber by the minute. And this is what I mean. The world is just so crazy right now. I don't even know what to think anymore. And some people might get offended by that. They'll be like, what? No, breatharians are real. I know they're real. Yeah, I won't even go down that road. If you try to eat nothing but air, I'm sorry, but you're going to die eventually. You might survive for a while. It's called fasting. Okay, Leah says, I got my Hydrofix today and I'm inhaling hydrogen as I am listening to you. There we go. And I'm inhaling it too. And I'll go into more how hydrogen is the spiritual component of that too in the future. Kim says, what's your take on hydrogen tablets? Oh boy, you haven't seen my videos. So literally just came across you on the feed. Can't find more info on your stuff. Yeah, it's on my channel, but what I'll tell you is, the first thing I'll tell you is, I've seen the lab reports of what's in those pills. I would never take those pills. In my opinion, it's my opinion, it's lunacy. If you look, they don't even follow any of the hydrogen guidelines. And what does that mean? Sauerkraut already knows all the answers. He's like, tablets are bad. He doesn't recommend them. Just think about hydrogen for a second. Hydrogen is odorless, colorless, tasteless, and pH neutral, okay? So, odorless, when you drop the pills in the water, is it odorless? No. They put off a really stinky smell. 2, is it colorless? Nope. When you drop the pill in there, the water turns gray. It actually looks pretty gross. I have some lab reports too you might want to check out. Is it tasteless? No. You drink the water and it tastes like crap. In fact, a lot of times it tastes like metal, which right there is the clue. Because I don't want to tell you what I saw in the lab report, only because, okay, so these guys, I guess I could probably say this, they've tried to go after me legally. There's a lot of people who don't like me saying the truth about hydrogen. I don't know what it is. I'm going to guess it's probably money, kind of like the pharmaceutical companies. So I can't legally say something without them trying to go after me again, and I just don't want to deal with that. So I tell you the simple answer, I would never use them, and there's good reason why I don't use them, and I'm really into the purity. And I will tell you one thing. There is a doctor, and there's more than one, but there's a doctor in Japan who's super smart, neurosurgeon, neuroscientist, like top of his field type of guy. And he's also happens to know a lot about hydrogen. He's like a hydrogen specialist. And he definitely does not recommend the pills. In fact, the machine that he uses is literally the exact machine that I use. And the only one he said that he recommends to his patients is this machine. I mean, that tells you something. It's really kind of odd that there's so many crappy products, in my opinion, in the world of hydrogen. It's like horrible. No pills, no little tiny little bottles from China, no plated metals, nothing that uses lye or sodium hydroxide or stainless steel. That's kind of the simplest way. I literally gave you years of my homework right there in like 5 seconds. So the other thing when you drop the pills in the water, hydrogen's pH neutral. What happens to the water when you put a tablet? It becomes extremely acidic. I showed the lab report on that too. So the simple answer is I would never use the pills. I think it's not only a waste of money, and in my personal opinion, potentially, I'm not going to make any claims for or against any product or products, but in my opinion, it could even be potentially detrimental to your health, specifically the liver, reproductive organs, and the brain. So you might want to look what potential heavy metals might cause such things, you know, and then you can do your own research and figure it out. But that's a simple answer if you just want to know. Hydrogen is a gas. It is extremely important that it's of the highest purity, which is basically medical grade. And almost nobody's making it like that. So, you know, and it does cost some money to make it really good. Simfire Training says, what's hydrogen therapy? Okay, so we are talking about a specific hydrogen. If you just say hydrogen, it's gonna be problems. The medical data, the medical research, which is obviously what I go off of, is molecular hydrogen. This is what the Japanese have done a ton of studies on. This is what's medically approved in Japan. That's what I'm using right now. The most affordable, realistic way to do it, because even the pills, what's funny about the pills is it ends up being literally the most expensive way to do it because you have to buy them constantly. And you don't want to do that. Once you have a machine like the one I have, you can make hydrogen for years and years and years. It actually ends up being the cheapest way. And you'll learn in time, which I did also, that in time you'll realize that almost every hydrogen machine out there is actually unreliable. They burn out, they break. It's very, very common. It's just what happens to a lot of them. The one that I'm using is a Japanese one, and they went out of their way. They even had Toyota involved. This was pretty wild, to try to make the machine extremely reliable, and they succeeded. I mean, this thing will run for year in, year out, year in, year out. If you do buy a machine, watch video 426, because I show all the tips on things to avoid doing to the machine that could harm it, so that way your machine will run for many, 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 many years. I mean, I've been running this one for so long. So anyway, it's great. And then of course, the hydrogen therapy, you either inhale the gas, which I personally think you should do both, but inhale the gas and drink hydrogen water, which is why you want a machine that does both. As I said, I only found 3 good machines in the world, like ones that I would actually use. One only does water, not good enough. One only does the gas, not good enough. I mean, if it's all I had, that's what I would do, but I want to do both. I want to do gas and inhalation, and that's why the Lourdes Hydrofix Premium does that. It does both at a super high level. There is no company in the world that does it like this company. And on top of it all, they lab test every single machine and certify. That's crazy, guys. Do you realize that nobody in the world does that? They're the only company. There's a reason that they're #1 in Japan, by the way. And my understanding is I think they're #1 in the world, but anyway. Kim says, thank you so much. I will look on your channel for the info. Yeah, but the simple answer is I wouldn't use the pills. You can pay me to use them. They tried to offer me money, actually. Everybody wants me to promote these hydrogen products and they offer me money. But I turn them down because I can't tell you guys in good faith and in good conscience that something's good for you when I won't even use it. No way, just sorry, I won't do that. It's called selling out. My Spirit Divine Center says, hi, do you know if there is a whole home water distiller system? Kind of. It's not a whole home system, but the website mypurewater.com, and of course discount code's always uprising 144K. They have a big system that you can hook up to your water line, and it does it all automatically, and it's in this giant sealed system where it holds the water like a tank, and then you just pull a little lever and get the water whenever you want. As far as distilling all the water in your entire house, I don't think that's a realistic thing. I will say that the Japanese have a device. I was gonna do more research on it when I went into Japan, and it doesn't distill the water for the whole house, but it puts the water through a certain process that really, really cleans the water a great deal. I feel more comfortable in, showering in it and things of that nature. But that device is like $7,000, and then you have to get it installed, but it's a lifetime device. And if I ever build a house or get a home, because I don't have one, I just rent a little room, which is why it's easy for me to move to Japan, because I don't have anything here. Other than an old beat up car. And I'll be leaving that behind too. But I'm gonna do a little more stretching. But all right guys, so if you have any other questions you can ask now, otherwise I'll probably be taken out very soon. Kim says, okay, no pills. Well, not for me. You can do them. I don't think that you're gonna get much results. I know some people think they do, but the placebo effect is strong. I've known people who've used products that are so toxic and they're like, oh, this is really helping. And then recently I followed up with one of those people and they're like, okay, this wasn't helping. I'm like, yeah, clearly it wasn't. I know it wouldn't. It's like trying to drink tap water and saying that it's good for you. And people say, oh, I feel amazing. It's like, okay, yeah, you feel amazing. Let's talk 6 months later or a year later. My Spirit Divine Center says, I didn't realize they had large systems. Yeah, and they're not like crazy expensive. I think a few $1,000, but they'll probably last forever. I know somebody who has one, and it's so convenient. It's all done automatically, and you just get clean water whenever you want. And my Spirit says, thank you. Then Leah says, how long does it take to see the first effects of molecular hydrogen? Days, weeks, months? It really depends, actually, because it depends on what your condition is. It depends on how sensitive you are. It also depends on your lifestyle. Let's say that you're somebody who's always going out to restaurants and you're always eating McDonald's and you drink tap water and you're doing all these things and you're using hydrogen. You're like, when am I going to see the results? The time frame is always going to be different for each person. But as far as the majority of people, 6 to 8 months is when I see like really big stuff. When I say big stuff, I'm talking about people getting off of heart medications, people getting off of high blood pressure medications, people getting off of cholesterol medications. But people start seeing results. Now, I always like when people can actually measure their blood glucose, measure their blood pressure, rather than just going off of what they think is like, oh, I think I feel better. Because sometimes people, they have certain expectations, I guess, is what I'll say. So all I'll say is typically 6 to 8 months, but it just really depends. Jazz Banana says, very excited for your upcoming channel. Have particular questions that it wouldn't make sense to ask here. I understand. You can ask if you want. Can't guarantee that I'll answer, but I don't have a lot of time. I got to get going here soon. Let's see. Cheryl says, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Cheryl. Everybody give Cheryl a thumbs up. Everybody wave and say hello. Okay, Leah says, makes sense. Thank you. And then it also depends on the hydrogen protocol. I would watch video 337. I would also watch video 388. And I would also watch video 426. Those are the videos that I would watch. All right. Any other last questions, guys? I got to get rolling. Kim is waving. Let's see. My divine spirit says, or my spirit something divine says, oh my what? Oh my God, I just got my machine in the mail. The Hydrofix. So excited. There you go. I'd be excited too. I mean, I'm so used to it. I just want to be without it. That's my thing. Leah says, will do. Jazz Banana says, safe ways out of body travel. Oh, safe ways, yeah. I gotcha. Yeah, you know, that's a tricky one for some people. But I will say, the guy known as Yeshua or Jesus talked about it in here. Not only did he talk about it, I went to the same places he went to. That's what blew my mind, is reading it in there years after I had already done it. And then the technique that he uses, and it has so much to do with hydrogen. It's so nuts. Anyway, the whole thing is bonkers. I'll talk about it on the new channel. I'll leave it out of this channel because this is just about health. Everything else, you know, it's all good. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you guys maybe another 10 seconds or so to ask any questions that you want to ask before I get going, because I gotta go. I think I answered actually enough of them, and I'll probably go into more detail about some of the crazy experiences in the other channel, because there's been all sorts of weird, interesting stuff that people probably want to know about, because they've been asking for years and I never shared it. Jazz says, I think those books will help wonderfully. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would even say they would help or not help. I did use some knowledge from here, from science, from observing nature, like all these different places where I look for answers to create my protocols. What is the new channel? Well, you're probably not going to find it, even though it's already up. But you won't find it until I release a video with the link. But it's called Happy Japan. I might change it, but right now it's called Happy Japan. Leah says, I would be very interested in those experiences. I'm excited for the new channel. Yeah, we can talk about it. I mean, I'm going to be in Japan, so once I'm there, my schedule, a lot of things are going to change. So I'm going to be doing a lot of work on me and connecting to peace. Peace, like I said, seems to be, I say seems to be. I've already experienced that it's something very, very important. And I think that's why spiritual people like a man named Jesus would talk about, you know, peace be with you. Seeing gospel of peace. But that's actually what Zen is also. You know, like in Zen Buddhism in Japan, it's about reaching these very peaceful states. And they're they can be very powerful. Self-reflection and going inside this creation, obviously, that I think is very sacred. I think the human body is sacred. So just my opinion. And Kim says, thank you. I am excited too now. All right, guys. Well, very cool. I only got 13 thumbs up, and we've had hundreds of people going through here. So it's not like important or anything. It just shows me that you guys appreciate the content, and it helps the algorithm and all that good stuff. And we'll be doing more live videos from Japan. The only problem though is going to be the time schedule. Everything's going to change. Everything's going to be turned on its head. Kind of like the world, the way the world is right now. I feel like everything's on its head. And so hopefully I'll be seeing you guys. If not, you'll have to watch the video when it's not live. But we'll get around to it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. I don't see any last questions. I'm going to show off the hydrogen machine here. And I'll see you guys next time on the next one.